I've made over $1.5 million on LinkedIn thus far, all without any ads up until this point. I've also helped about 200 small service providers hit significant financial milestones too. And there are four things that you need. Four things that you need dialed in order to be able to do the same. And I'm going to take you through them in this video so you can apply some of the things that we're going to run through to your business. Over to the trusty iPad now, and you'll see we got this wonderful acronym, SAIL, all right? And these are the four things. Now, if you aren't getting the results that you want, chances are there is a problem or a bottleneck in one of these few things here, okay? So the S stands for source, write that there. The A stands for the activation point, and I'll give more context to these in a sec. L is the lead conversion, and then E are your economics or offer economics. No, mix, can't even spell. Cool. So what each of these things mean, all right? First and foremost, the source. Where is your traffic coming from, okay? Where are you getting attention and eyeballs and building trust? The next thing is the activation point, and that's almost like how do you activate them, or what journey are you taking people on, okay? How are you getting them to actually convert into a lead of some description? Cool. The next thing is your lead conversion. So how do you actually convert them into a client? And then finally, your offer economics, all right? Model and price. So taking a look at each of these things first, what metrics should you be concerned about? If we switch over to a red pen, here we want to look at marketing qualified leads, okay? So people who look good on paper, how many of those are you getting each week? How many of those are you getting in a month? Is that enough in tail to fill the client bucket over here? If not, then there's probably a bottleneck issue here. And we'll give more context, as I say, to these as we go on. Next is the activation point, okay? So what journey or journeys or funnels or flywheels or whatever people call it these days, what's the fucking journey that you take your clients on, all right? How do you, once you've got their attention, start to qualify them as a sales qualified lead, not just someone on paper that you could help, but someone who has sort of the budget, the authority, the need, they're in the right space, they've got the intent, that kind of thing. And the thing that you're looking for here, as I say, is SQLs. So they're a lot more qualified than marketing qualified leads because they're actually in a position to buy. Then the next thing, number 3, L, is the lead conversion. So how do you actually convert them? Well, what you're looking for here is your close rate or conversion rate, percentage, whatever you may call it. And then model and price. So how do you deliver it and how much does it cost? Like, is this the right model in order for you to not burn out, but still be able to sell and deliver at the same time? And the other part of that is how much does it cost? Are you charging too little? Which most people that we speak to are. So you may be able already to start to see some potential bottlenecks that sit underneath each of these things. I'm not going to go too heavy in bottlenecks on this video, but what I am going to go into are some of the things that you may be able to do, or some of the things you should be able to consider moving forward in order to reach your goal, whether that's 10K, 15K, 50K, 100K. This is kind of universal for service providers, right? You need these things dialed in. So first and foremost, how do you get traffic? Well, there aren't that many ways you can go and get it. If we stay zoomed out for a sec, you're either looking at organic traffic, and that could just be through a social platform. You may have like face-to-face and stuff. I'm purely talking online here. And then you might have paid, okay? That's pretty much it. You either pay with your time or you pay with money in order to get attention. But then there's also inbound and outbound, right? I'll zoom out a tiny bit. There's also inbound. So are people coming to you? Or outbound, are you going to them? So an example of inbound would be posting content. So you post a YouTube video, which could be organic, maybe paid as well. A lot of paid is obviously inbound. In fact, all paid is inbound, what we're talking about. But you may post a YouTube video, which will be organic, and that might get you some leads without you speaking to them. So that's inbound. Alternatively, you might post a LinkedIn post and still have to send messages off the back of it, which will be a mixture of organic and inbound as well, right? And then how are you actually communicating to these people? Is it one-to-one or is it one-to-many? All right, so content is obviously one-to-many. If you are going outbound here with DMs, which is obviously an organic way, that will be a one-to-one way. If you're posting content, one-to-many. If it's sending emails to your email list, etc., etc. So this is possibly where I see people struggle the most, all right? People are really, really good at what they do. They might even be charging the right price or whatever over here, but actually, they just don't have enough attention. So they're either doing too much of the shit over here or they're not doing the right thing. And the problem with this is every single method out there works. You'll have these guys popping up online going, oh, cold calling doesn't work. Or knocking on doors doesn't. It fucking does. It's just that they've only tried it for 5 minutes. They've not seen the result. And therefore they've gone, oh, it doesn't work. And they've moved on to the next thing, which if you only do it for 5 minutes, probably fucking won't work either. All right. So we'll take another look at this in a second. So we've got some ideas in terms of where your traffic can come from. Obviously, we're not gone platform specific or anything like that, and that's not really the aim of this video. But let's look at the activation point, okay? How can you actually take people, or where are you taking people to? Because you could, theoretically, take them to a purchase or a sales situation straight away. But realistically, you're probably going to want to build some trust in this second column here, all right? So typically, you want to be looking, I believe, at either a VSL, which is a video sales letter, or a free training or something like that, or another kind of lead magnet. Now, there are loads of different lead magnets you can have. I see loads of people doing Score App and stuff like that. Shout out to Daniel Priestley. However, there's a reason I've never used Score App, and that's because every other fucker's doing it. All right. I think it's a great concept. I have used it in the past when I was employed. But what I really think will set you apart here is having something different. All right. Something that's extremely valuable. And that could be a micro magnet that solves a tiny problem, or it could be something that solves a real big problem that you spend a lot of time and effort building. A lot of the time, if you can make your lead magnet or your funnel better than other people's, it's going to be more memorable. All right. Now, you do have an option here. You can choose between what most lead magnets are, which is free, or alternatively, you could do something paid. However, if it's paid, it should always be low ticket. An example activation point for us is a workshop. So I will run, I've not got one planned for a while, but I will run workshops that I'm already running to our C2C clients, and I'll invite our email list and put a few posts out on social and sell tickets for like £100. Now, what this does, and the reason it's called an activation point, now it's still a lead magnet because we're not actually doing it for the money. We're doing it to build the trust. Okay. When people see me talk about subjects for a prolonged period of time, so like an hour to 2 hours, I can convert them into my way of thinking. And then if we are to put an offer on the table in front of them, a lot of the time they take it, which is great. So if you want to come to a workshop, maybe make sure you're ready to make some other decisions as well. All right. So we've got an idea here. I mean, a lead magnet, something to capture people's details so you can continue to sort of market to them. And people will stay in this journey for a while. It's not like they just download a lead magnet straight away or join a workshop straight away and choose to work with you or buy from you. It doesn't always work like that, okay? They'll stay in this sort of middle of funnel place for a long time. We've had people who have, downloaded something a year, 2 years ago, and they still haven't bought. But we know that they will at some point. And we've had people that did end up buying, more to the point. Okay, so now we're looking at the final column, second to last column, sorry. Lead conversion. So how do you actually convert people? Well, there are a few different ways. Typically, you'd be looking at a sales call. You may, if you've got really good marketing, rely on a click. So a click to buy journey where they just go to a cart. You may convert people in the DMs, all right? And again, these aren't all standalone. They can be sort of mixed up and whatnot. You may have a workshop where you do it live or a webinar where you get people to buy live. Or alternatively, what we've done a couple of times is just send people an offer doc, just breaking down the program. And in that offer doc, we'll talk about the outcome. We'll talk about the deliverables. We'll talk about the journey that they go on, or what I like to call the phases. Then we'll give them the price and maybe some installment options as well. And then we don't need a call. Like some people just don't want calls. So it's good to have all these at your disposal for sure. We still rely on calls because we want to make sure that people are a good fit. It's a two-way thing. We don't just sell to anyone. We actively do unsell people on calls if we don't think we can help. So we're definitely sitting around the call side of things here, but we've done offer docs, we've converted off workshops, I've converted a few people in the DMs, never done a click to buy because I do want that interaction with the person, but you need to choose how you're going to do things. The aim of the game here really is to go along and go, right, I'm sticking with organic, I'm going to choose one inbound channel, or method, which might be content, and one outbound, which might be DMs or emails or whatever. All right. And just picking those for now is a great start. Then you probably want to decide on a lead magnet or a VSL and the type of lead magnet and the journey that you're going to take people on, and then choosing between free and paid. All right. After that, how are you actually going to convert people? Well, the highest conversion rate out of all these is definitely going to be a call. All right, because everything else doesn't have that one-to-one interaction with you or a potential team member. So just something to bear in mind. Now, the final thing, only two things to really worry about here, and that is model and price. So typically, you might sell a DIY thing like a course or whatever, but if you're selling a course, you're going to have to sell shitloads of them to reach like a decent monthly sort of profit margin or revenue. So we'll kind of discount that one. But in terms of model, in terms of delivery and the method, how you deliver it, is it done for you? So like an agency service like copy or design or something like that? Or is it done with you, which is what ours is? So that will be more like a coaching or mentoring or consulting or whatever. And then you need the price. All right. How much are you actually charging for this thing? So all these things on screen are things that can be messed up, all right? And if you're not making the money that you make or winning the number of clients that you want or whatever it may be, it's probably down to something on here, all right? So what I want to do is just give you a few examples of what people do wrong. And then if you don't have those problems, that's great. If you do have one of those problems, you'll be able to jump in and sort it out, okay? So in terms of the traffic source, either choosing to do too many or only relying on inbound is probably a massive, massive bottleneck for most people, okay? They post content and they think that magically the algorithm gods are just going to grant them some fucking leads, and it doesn't work like that, okay? So the main thing that I would look at is making sure you're having conversations here. If you're not having conversations on a one-to-one and a one-to-many basis, and you're not going out there and actively talking about your business, you are going to fall flat, and you're going to fall flat pretty fast. And then you'll resort to going, oh, well, content doesn't work. But in reality, it's a mixture of things at the attention stage that will work best, which is why I said earlier, you want an inbound and an outbound channel. It's why you want to run organic, which is the slow burner. And then when money and budget permits, probably bring ads into play. And we've been really lucky to make shitloads of money without having to use any ads. Don't get me wrong. We've gone all in on like DMing people and having conversations and speaking on stages and things like that, right? But ultimately, at some point, I knew we were going to have to turn ads on, and we're turning ads on right now with a very, very low spend just to test them before we start to ramp them up, and they're working extremely well. You can wait for another video. Might be a while. I don't know much about ads, but I get the idea behind the content. So picking two things from this list, all right? Is it organic or paid or both? Is it inbound or outbound or both? Now, with the inbound or outbound, I strongly suggest you have both in there. Next is activation points. Now, the problem I see, I've kind of already talked about this, but the problem I see with most lead magnets is they're just the same as everyone else's. Like, that is so hard to compete when you're competing with other people. But if you make something completely different, you're competing with no one. All right? It's like that blue ocean strategy. So you don't necessarily need to do the same as everyone else. Just one tiny maneuver or one tiny material or giving away more than competitors typically do. Sorry, camera ran out of battery. Anyway, you get the idea, right? Just doing something slightly different is going to stand you apart from your competitors. Next, if we look at lead conversion, well, there are a load of bottlenecks here. All right, and I can go on about this. This could have its own separate 2-hour video. But when we look at the points in a call, let's say you're going for a call, there are a few that you absolutely have to have in place. So you have to set the agenda at the start. You then also have to conduct a thorough discovery of the person and assess their needs before you sort of prescribe a solution. And then you need to nail the pitch. So again, the price comes into play here as well as the offer. All right. So if we look at that very quickly, you need to set the agenda at the start of a phone call. If you're not doing that, people will almost walk all over you and take control of the call themselves. The next thing when you're conducting discovery is not rushing it and actually asking enough questions to open that person up in order to give you the information that you need to then prescribe the solution that's right for them, not a one size fits all. Now, any sort of questions that you don't ask and answers that you don't get during the discovery phase almost are like baggage that the person will carry with them to the close, all right? Or carry with them till the minute you mention money, typically. So you want to make sure there's no stone unturned, which is why you should always spend a lot more time on discovery than you should on the pitch. The pitch itself should be pretty easy because you just tailor certain aspects of what you sell or the product or the package to what they've said already. And then you give them a reason to buy right now, all right? And then hopefully you onboard them. Now, this is where sort of the last thing comes into play. Like if your price is too low, one, profit is going to be hard because you're going to have to get a lot of people in order to be profitable over just paying yourself a wage. But also people will value it a lot less as well if it's low. So I remember being very, very scared of charging a high price. It was terrifying, to be fair. And we have clients who, some of them still have that mindset when they first start to work with us as well, where it's like they're scared of putting an extra grand on for whatever reason. But actually, when you do that, people take you a lot more seriously. We've not had in over 2 years anyone say, or try and barter with us or anything like that. It just doesn't happen because we've got so much conviction in what we sell. And it shines through in the content, shines through in the sales process, shines through on the sales call as well, shines through especially on the pitch and when we talk about the price, that people are aware, like, oh, this thing is an actual product. It's not just some guy sat in his mum's bedroom. Oh, I wouldn't be in my mum's bedroom. That'd be weird. Some guy sat in his mum's basement or his mum's living room or his mum's spare room. Let's go with that one. Making the price up on the spot. All right. So this matters a lot, the price. But also you may have bottlenecks in terms of the delivery method or the model as well. So if you're doing done for you and you're actually doing the thing for them, there are only so many spaces that you can, or clients you can take on until you hit capacity. And that's when you really need to start thinking about scaling. Now, if you're only like a little bit into your journey, you don't really need to worry about that too much. The most important thing is the first 3 stages and just getting some clients under your belt so you can start to systemize the process, which is exactly what we help our clients with. So if you're interested, I've actually just put together a brand new video which shows you exactly how to do that. It looks a bit neater than this, but how to create 6 figures of revenue in under 12 months. We're not saying it's in like 10 days or any stupid shit like that. It's a sustainable way to make sure that you go through things methodically and actually create clients. 1, who actually want to work with you, 2, who you actually want to work with, and 3, who pay you what you're actually worth. So it's called the 6 Secrets to 6 Figures. It's predominantly focused around LinkedIn. If you want to grab it, I'll stick the link under this video. But I hope that was helpful, and I will catch you soon.